Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Prior to Castellano's indictment, Gambino, he was approached by Robert DiBernardo, a fellow Gambino member acting as a go-between for Gotti. DiBernardo, he informed him that Gotti and Ruggiero wanted to meet with him in Queens. So Gambino arrived to find only Ruggiero was present. Ruggiero informed Gambino that he and Gotti were planning to murder Castellano, and he asked for Gambino's support. Gambino, he was initially non-committal, wanting to confer first with Frank DeCicco. Well, in that conversation with DeCicco, both men voiced concern that Castellano would designate his nephew, Thomas Gambino, acting boss, and his driver, Thomas Bellotti, underboss in the event he was convicted and sent to prison. They're like, we can't have that. Neither man appealed to Gambino or DeCicco as leadership material. They're like, you're talking about shit's going down. I mean, it's going to be fucked up with Gotti, but at least we'll have a chance. Right. And they ultimately decided to support the hit on Castellano. They're like, let's do it.
Right. Well, Gambino's first choice to become boss after Castellano's murder was Frank DeCicco, but DeCicco felt John Gotti's ego was too big to take a subservient role. We got to do that. DeCicco argued that Gotti's boldness, intelligence, and charisma made him well-suited to be a good boss, and he convinced Gambino to give Gotti a chance. And they said they made a secret deal to kill Gotti and take over the family as boss and underbosses, respectively, if they were unhappy with Gotti's leadership after a year.
Ooh.
The conspirators' first order of business was meeting with other Gambino members, most of whom were disaffected under Castellano and gaining their support for the hit.
Dude.
Like, you can't have a bunch of people that hate you, and then when they decide to fucking put a hit on you, you're done.
This is how ridiculous the mob is. You could be hanging out with somebody for 10 years and go to their house one day not knowing the night before or maybe the hour before they'll be like, should we kill this guy?
Right.
What if he fucks up? Well, we might have to kill him. Just give him 6 months. Hey, what's going on, John?
Well, how you doing, man?
You know I'll die for you, buddy. Wow, we got a fucking correspondent going on here.
Right.
Shit. They also recruited longtime capo Joseph Piney Armone into the conspiracy to kill Castellano. Well, Armone's support was critical. They needed this because he was respected by an old-timer in the family. No.
Yeah, that one old-timer over there, he really respects Armone.
Well, Armone, his support was very critical because he was a respected old-timer in the family, and it was believed that he could help win over Castellano supporters for the new regime. And you got to have somebody, right? The next step was smoothing over the planned hit with the other families. It has long been a hard and fast rule in the mafia that killing a boss is forbidden without the support of the majority of the commission. Indeed, Gotti's planned hit would have been the first off-the-record hit on a boss since Frank Costello was nearly killed in 1957. And you know what happened to Frank? He was like, I'm out. He's like, what? I'm out of here, boys.
Well, knowing it would be too risky to approach the other four bosses directly, the conspirators got the support of several important mobsters of their generation in the Lucchese, Colombo, and Bonanno families.
Wow.
Gotti and Ruggiero then sought and obtained the approval of key figures from the Colombos and Bonannos.
How do you have so many people know about something and not get back to Castellano? I just don't understand. These motherfuckers don't talk. Loose lips.
If you're getting the right people that don't like them.
Right.
On the other hand, DeCicco secured the backing of top mobsters aligned with the Lucchese's. They did not even consider approaching the Genovese's, since Castellano had especially close ties with Genovese boss Vincent the Chin Gigante.
Yeah, they weren't touching those.
And approaching any major Genovese figure, even one of their generation, could have been a tip-off.
Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah, like, fuck the Genovese's.
Right. You know, those guys, they're all state witness anyway. Wasn't that the one?
Right.
Jeez. They're just turning each other left and right. I don't even know how they're still even in the commission. Gotti, he could claim that he had support of the off-the-record contacts from 3 out of the 5 families. I think that's a majority, right? With Neo Della Croce's death on December 2nd, 1985, the final constraint on a move by Gotti or Castellano against the other was removed. Uh-oh. Look at that. Gotti, enraged that Castellano chose not to attend his mentor's wake, wasted little time in striking. Not suspecting the plot against him, Castellano invited DeCicco to a meeting on the 16th of December, 1985. He did that with fellow capos Thomas Gambino, James Faella, Johnny Gamarana, and Danny Marino.
Dan the Man Marino.
Laces out, Dan. They did that at Sparks Steakhouse in Manhattan.
Yes.
You think it was actually Dan Marino? He just, how can I hide my identity? Just put an NY at the end. Danny's.
Right.
Let's go to Danny's.
The conspirators considered the restaurant a prime location for beef and as well as for fucking a hit, because the area would be packed with bustling crowds of holiday
beef
shoppers.
and settling beef.
Oh, that would make it easier for assassins to blend in and escape.
Right.
The plans for assassination were finalized December 15th. The next afternoon, the conspirators met for a final time on the Lower East Side.
Oh, man.
At Gotti's suggestion, the shooters were to wear long white trench coats and black fur Russian hats.
Damn, where do you get white trench coats from? I've never seen a white trench coat before.
Anywhere you want.
Really?
Which Gravano considered a brilliant idea. Brilliant!
Make them look like they're Russians. Yeah, I get it. Well, Gotti and Gravano, they arrived at the restaurant shortly before 5 o'clock. And after circling the block, parked their cars across the intersection and within view of the entrance. Around 5:30 p.m., Gravano spotted Castellano's Lincoln Town car. It was stopped at a nearby intersection. And via walkie-talkie, he alerted the team of hitmen stationed outside the restaurant of Castellano's approach, like targets coming. Castellano's driver, Thomas Bellotti, pulled the car up directly in front of the entrance. As Castellano and Bellotti exited the Lincoln, they were ambushed and murdered in a barrage of bullets right on Main Street. Jeez. As the hat and trench coat adorned men slipped away into the night, wearing white, right, makes sense, Gotti calmly drove the car past the front of the restaurant to get a look at the scene. Looking down at Bellotti's body from the passenger window, Gravano remarked, "He's gone."
He gone. Well, after Castellano's death, Gallo, the only surviving member of the hierarchy, convened a 3-man committee to temporarily run the family, comprising of himself, Gotti, and DeCicco. However, it was an open secret that Gotti was acting boss in all but name.
Right.
And nearly all the family's capos knew he had been the one behind the hit.
Right.
Gotti was formally acclaimed as the new boss of the Gambino family at a meeting of 20 capos held January 15, 1986.
Fantastic.
Gotti, in turn, selected DeCicco as his underboss.
You better have.
And then he elevated Gravano to capo after Tato Aurello announced his desire to step down. He said, I got to go out of there after
He's
this.
like, you guys are a little crazy. Damn. I'm going to go join the Bananos.